All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. Just as a first one, this will be the last time it will be at this time. I saw actually the new proposed time wasn't accepted and adjusted yet in the calendar. So that's why we actually are meeting now at this time. But we spoke to the support of the manager of the calendar, and he will swap it to the new proposed time date. So just that you know that there will be it will be earlier instead of at the current time we're doing. Other than that, please also add your attendees in the meeting notes of the agenda of the Drive link I just sent you. Well, maybe a very quick tour. Do we have some new friends that want to introduce themselves quickly?
We actually have a couple of people from my team at Sonotype on. So there's Aaron and Hernan. They're both on the DevRel team with me, and they are both much better than I am at writing and delivering content. So I said, you should probably join in and help.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I think there's also something before we actually go and kick into the agenda items. I mean, we have the SKF updates that we can add. If you have more agenda items next to the key milestones that we're going to discuss as well, please add them to the meeting notes. But I think what's also important to discuss actually the SIG 1, the stream 1 that was also happening today, because as you know, we're very dependent on also, well, what type of materials they gathered, the gap analysis, etc. So I don't know, is there somebody here available that can give an update who was at the stream 1 earlier today?
I was on the stream one. Was anyone else on the stream one?
I was as well.
I was as well.
Yeah, so what we're really still working through and sort of is our highest sort of contingency from that group is this one spreadsheet that we need to consolidate all known resources around. So we're going to have a meeting on that early next week and try to have that delivered in some consumable format by Wednesday. So that's really our current sort of action and blocking point in that group. But coming out of that, what I would like to do is in getting that work consolidated, they've already labeled it by content type. So group 1 is very much sort of like the librarians, the content curation. They've labeled it by the type of learning that they're aware of. We need to then label all the forms of learning that we want to get out and incentivize, specifically making that transition between content that exists and content that we need to exist to build jobs. So I guess my ask will be coming out of early next week when we get this set of resources consolidated. Let's have a column where we add in, yes, everything that we know exists, but also just like leave a label in there that says like, if we don't find anything that covers a topic, that starts to get us to that gap coverage. But it's a long-winded way of saying I'll have something in the Slack next week for you all to look at from that meeting.
Yeah, I just pulled in the Excel indeed again, and yeah, what I also notice is that for example, the content teams, it's still I say it still has a lot of overlap of the different items, right? But for example, well, we talked also in some previous meetings about IoT security that is not in there as a team, or end user security, or I don't know, pipeline security, Docker security, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, it's not so I mean, this is the issue more broadly, right? It's the fact that there are very few educational resources that can actually prepare someone for a cybersecurity job. So I guess that's what I'm trying to state. Can we have a column in here that's, let me restate that. I'm just going to write it into the Slack comments here, or the Zoom comment, but we can continue with action points in the meantime.
Mm-hmm. Check. Yeah, because yeah, we are also in our key deliverables still looking for, how it actually, how much the work is, right? And depending on what type of curriculum we're going to choose, we can actually make a proper estimate instead of maybe over asking or well, worst case under asking. Yeah, we might really be in trouble then, right? Do we already have for the stream one? Did we already have defined like a scope for indeed like the target audience like type of work?
Yeah, so two issues broadly, and I say this with love, but the first part of this plan, it's run by a group of people who are familiar with cybersecurity education, but not with the practice, especially like the practice that's developed in the last 2-3 years. It's a very different cybersecurity. So what I've put in the comments here in section 3, I want us to be rewarding and incentivizing along these sort of 3 prioritized in time pillars. So like supply chain, cloud security, data security, app security would be our first focuses. So I'd like us to label up front, sort of have the 2 labels. What they've done in the educational part is label it by what they're familiar with, which is audience by education level.
Mm-hmm.
We need to go back through, and I would propose tag the resources that are relevant for these cybersecurity stacks that we want to focus in, and the ones that we have the most resources for, we can put up front. I've just put this list of priority based on what I think we're likely to have some of the most and least resourcing around. So.
Okay. That is at least more concrete and carving it out where we need to focus on. So that's already a good direction.
I have
Yeah.
2 statements for the group.
Oh yeah, please. Sorry, I didn't saw you had a hand.
The spreadsheet has been and is open for comments, suggestions, and changes. If this group doesn't feel the current spreadsheet meets the need, please express that. This has been available for 3 weeks. There has been very minimal contribution. Glenn put in the ASVS stuff, and Sal has talked about these kind of cybersecurity matrix prioritizations, but there has been next to 0 other contributions.
Yeah.
So that's my first point. And my second point is,
yeah,
this group should not expect a 100% complete finalized list. This group should be very selective in saying, well, we've identified this persona or this education path we feel is important, make estimates around that and a couple others, and we will have to put a pin in and fob things off to year 2 or year 3. So pick what you feel is important so that you can get your section complete and estimated. And then please contribute to the list to make it as good as we can. We are going to have that meeting, as Sal mentioned. So once we try to get alignment on the columns and the categorization and the terminology, then we're going to go through and cram everything in there. And then the next step will be the assessment of that list, which we will also need assistance on.
Yeah. All right, good points. Yeah, indeed, I added the ASVS in the testing guide to it because, yeah, like I said, it's very clear goal, security developer or a pen tester, network security, etc. I think, if we really want to have something good, we should focus, in my opinion, that's, well, in my vision, where the world now is burning. We're building a lot of web applications, APIs, So I think there we can add the most value in short terms because there's already such,
Much
good
material,
material
yeah.
available there.
And
Let me see.
is
because,
there
yeah,
any opportunity to harmonize the ASVS with like Sal's suggestion so that we have one suggestion moving forward that can account for both viewpoints?
Indeed. I see somebody else, Eric. You have also your hand up. Please go first.
Yeah, so yeah, I was on vacation and then I had to go to an offsite. I missed that. I'm scrolling through the agenda and notes, and I'm not seeing a link to the spreadsheet.
Yeah, it is for the other stream, for stream 1 of the SIG, but well, it all ties very together, right? So that's why we're actually discussing that one as well. I posted a link. Oh,
yeah,
everybody posted a
I
link,
have
so-
that from the previous meeting. Yeah, I just assumed it was a different one. So
No, it's still that one. So that's why see Rob's remark, like, hey, it still looks a bit the same as 3 weeks before. Yeah.
Yeah, so early next week, we need to go through it. And I think with that, my goal is going to be to tag the resources with, if this sounds good to everyone, propose them with these proposed cybersecurity matrix focuses, which then I think will give us a really nice way to say, this is the coverage that we know we have as it applies to known employable security profiles. That I definitely need in order to build a cogent model for resourcing for jobs. So I think with that, and my intention is to hand off this spreadsheet with 2 small paragraphs. The first is going to be where we got these resources and from whom we can contact to ensure their longevity. And number 2, exactly what the identifying indexes are for these. So we should have the audience type already tagged, and this has been done by most of the people that provided the resources, and by the employable audience that it's intended for. And that puts us in a super good spot, I think, to have a matrix of what we want and what we don't have, I think.
Are we able to adapt either of the 2 lists into the content theme column, or does it add value to add 1 or 2 additional columns so that as we are tagging the content, we have the ability to flag these other 2 viewpoints?
Yeah, I want to keep, I personally want to keep those in because a lot of those tags are sub aspects of these overarching cybersecurity profiles. And that's my only issue right now. We have them tagged by audience type and training type, but I need training type to audience, like professional profile.
I'm speaking about column E on the spreadsheet. Like if we have nulled that and either merged your suggestion with ASVS, or we added 2 additional columns so that as we are flagging, there's this webinar on Kubernetes from this source, and it also applies to this ASVS topic as well as Sal's matrix. Would that be kind of extending the number of columns, or are we able to adjust the A column? Adjust 1 column, not the A column.
I think that is a good idea, but okay, so sorry that we're digesting very much on the other the stream 1, but yeah, in my opinion we have to, because it's really very closely together also with our objectives. But for example, review existing education materials for gap and opportunities. That's the 1. But further down the line, I see also defined training areas of focus. And there indeed you have the mobile, well, the CI/CD and all that good stuff, right? So I would actually want to ask, and well, maybe we need to do an official vote also in stream 1 as we have a mixed group here. But could we say that for the 1.1 goal, we first focus on web API and secure development and the AppSec offensive security, and make that our first year goal, So we have more time to actually do goal 1.4 and do that deep dive, because I feel there the material is way more thinner spread. So it will be harder and takes more time to do the gap analysis. And now to really move forward and well, have something in December, right, that we can present with budgets and figures. I feel like maybe we should first focus really on the two profiles, the abstract, the offensive, and on the developers to make them secure coding and that good stuff.
We absolutely could take that approach. That will not be controversial.
No, and that, I mean, with that priority, we know we've got the content, and that unblocks the other groups from starting to be able to move around to specific profiles. So I vote yay to that.
I would also add that, so we had a meeting with David Wheeler and the SKF team maybe about month and a half ago, but he mentioned that organizing it all in learning paths. So I think that just for the record, that's what the team basically has been doing. So I don't know if that changes anything, Saul, but yeah.
I love the idea of having the learning paths, but we are relitigating the words that we already have written down. So we should decide upon how we would wish to frame that. Is that a profile? Is that a target audience? Is it a persona? Is it a learning path? So let's figure out a term, and then we can hammer out it using the existing data we have. So potentially what you're talking about is target audience, for example, Randall. Yeah, that could be the learning path. So
It wasn't
normalize on that.
Part of the reason I was saying that was because we didn't finalize on that. So I do also +1 on the persona profile.
Yeah,
And that being said, just so you know, so in the reorganization that we're doing of SKF, basically like everything is getting moved to Knative. I know it's a little bit of a mute point, but just so you kind of, it should be fairly organized. It should be fairly easy to contribute to, is what I'm getting at.
Cool.
All right, maybe objectives to this carving of what I suggested to do. Speak now or
Out of curiosity, Glenn, you wouldn't happen to know if OSLAP has any sort of audience profile for ASVF or WSTG or anything like that, do you?
I don't know about them, but I mean, if they have already something concrete, I do know there is an education committee as well. It exists for 3 years, and also there they have a lot of well, problems in defining something, right? So I rather want to do it the agile way, put it a nice MVP out there. Will it, like C Rob says, will it be 100%? No, but you know, from there we iterate, we improve, and we go on. So I rather want to take, yeah, that type of approach than yeah, talking for a year or two and then still, yeah, not able to educate and then, you know, give people the opportunity to learn. So yeah.
Fair.
No, so if we as a group, you know, at least in this stream can decide like, okay, we should focus on those type of personas, for profiles and personas, then at least we can now actually go think about the key deliverables of our own, and yeah, how much work that would involve into covering those things, right? I think, Randall, you said it before, and probably in one of the other meetings, the only challenge now is then it is a standard, right? ASVS, and the testing guide is also, well, a bit more already sort of a curriculum, but still it's a more, again, a standard. So we do need to figure out like, yeah, how to make it into a workable learning path, right? That we really focus the guide in the correct order, our personas through this whole, yeah, topics and categories.
So so as we go through this thing through the next week, I am gonna leave in professional persona, because I think that this leaves us a really nice triptych index. So the content type is going to tell us like sort of that, well, not the content type, the which one is it? The one that tells us the content theme, sorry. So if we have the content theme, the stack and the language, and the professional persona, that's going to allow us to be able to query the language in two ways, which would be important to me as an end user, because I'm either going to want to have a deep stack knowledge, or I'm going to want to have, I want to be a really, really good pen tester in 2 to 3 different like common micro like architecture language combinations, right? And if I have, as long as all I'm trying to do is make sure that my end index has some shared things with the beginning index, which is this educational one. And so then we can build awards around both a specific type of training, and we can do them around an entire stack for a specific language, and we can do them around professional personas. And all 3 of those would be interesting to incentivize. So I think if y'all are okay with that, I'm going to leave professional persona in here, and then we can use that as a really nice way to do enablement for this part 2 for mobilization, because our first priority is going to be AppSec. That's our first professional persona where we'll have the most resources.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, maybe another thing that we also sort of discussed a couple of times, but how and what should the material actually be? I mean, we have the security knowledge framework as a platform. We talked, Randall, a couple of weeks ago with David Wheeler as well. And we don't want to, well, have like different sources from different locations that we have to update and maintain. So is it still the idea that we are going to offer all these courses into the security knowledge framework platform? I mean, one of the wishes, for example, David, was that, yeah, it would be nice as well that, for example, I think Randall, you also spoke with him about it.
Yeah, I made the
There is a
question.
way, yeah, that there is a way to, for example, other platforms to also be able to use the training material that we created, and we could facilitate that, for example, using SKF and I don't know, specific API endpoints where they can, pull that data out as well. But I just wanted to double check here as well if if that is indeed the vision and where we are going to.
My personal opinion would be this group should put forth their vision of what they would like to see. And when the sponsors review the plan, they are free to have objections or request changes, but be opinionated with where you think it should be. Be flexible so that we can account for other tools or perspectives or platforms. But if we think SKF should be the repo, say SKF is going to be our repo. It's up to you. And also bear in mind that it's this group of volunteers plus people we hire and other people we lure in to participate is going to be the people building it. So don't commit to more than we're able to resource.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and to be honest, guys, I'm biased. Of course, I'm pro SKF. I just want to, make sure that indeed we're on the same page in that, because yeah, I do think and I do believe a security knowledge framework would be a nice place. Seeing the track record that we have, and also yeah, in the past year we have like, I don't know, like 100,000 pulls from the Docker Hub and stuff like that. But yeah, I also fear that if somebody else will do it, they will probably be pretty overwhelmed with how much work it is. And yeah, it is in the end a service that you need to run, right? And a platform you need to maintain. So yeah.
And my personal opinion is my experience working with developers is historically they learn better by doing. And SKF is a doing platform as opposed to having somebody talk at you in a lecture. So I think if we made that kind of our hub, and then we account for other learning methods, visual and lecture type people, or people that like looking at pictures, I think that'll be good as we kind of use SKF as our home base and branch out from there. So I endorse that course of action.
So
All right.
on that note, just saying this. So SKF, even with the redesign, is going to have a very specific way of how to like load information onto it. Because from what I've gathered and helping out and kind of spearheading the redesign, SKF focuses on creating labs and making content engageable. We don't create content. We just make it engageable for people. So I think that should definitely be thought of, because if we're going to be loading content in SKF, there is a way. I haven't come out with it yet, but there needs to be a way where you can load content into it cohesively.
Yeah, okay. So this is where, I mean, this really pulls on first pulling those resources in from the first part of this initiative. But when we were in that discussion today, I think two important things came up, and we should discuss this one and just pen note it for the end. That there's probably going to be a project manager on all three parts of this, but I don't know anything more. But more importantly, I think, so we were discussing like the need to have what they're calling a central library. But to get a little philosophical here, the idea of a library doesn't transpose to open source, because open source are resources, and specifically in cybersecurity have to be updated. So it's like having a library where every author is made to update their resources continuously. So what we need is from anyone that we're getting these resources from, some commitment that they will update these when they should be. So the endpoint, I don't care if it's an API, I don't care if we actually store it, and we set enough money aside to have a database that can store these, but I would also like to make sure, and it's in a little bit in the budget, but I'd like to clarify that we set something aside to create cybersecurity playgrounds. Like, I can't explain to you how important it is to not let people test cybersecurity on their own laptops when they don't understand it yet. Okay.
No, exactly. So that's why we have this whole safe environment actually, right, to do it. And we already have those capabilities currently in SKF. Yeah. See, Rob, your remark was, sorry.
As Sal mentioned, we do want to make sure that there's some agreement around upkeep of the materials. And I thought you had already talked about that in a prior call in this group, haven't you? Did we put that in this section plan, or at least debate it?
That is a good. Well, at least what we did discuss is, well, where we can, we're going to use and work upon other projects that are out there. And we also discussed that in our what we will do and what is included into the scope in the overall SIG, that we're going also to work with other open source projects. So that means probably some of the people that we hire, me or whatever, that are going to work with them and say, hey, look, we miss actually these type of topics in your project. Can we add them? Can we make pull requests to improve that? Then we updated at the source, and that source we then pull, like Sal, you're saying, as a library type of thing inside SKF, where we then can push the new information, the updated information to the other people and our learners. So we have more projects actually benefiting right from the work we're doing then. So that was indeed, well, my concept of it, but
And we could formally write something down that this is how we will proceed going forward, and think about what we need to do. Maybe we need to add an entry in Sal's section to say, here's how we plan on incentivizing keeping the materials concurrent.
I was just writing a note on that. Number one, an idea that I like is educational microgrants for open source projects. getting them engaged at that level on what's important to them, that would be cool. And that's always better documentation. And then I think there's something coming together for like maybe using MLH as a way to make sure like they can handle the relationship between partners, like corporate partnerships and educational curriculum, and getting that embedded into open source. And that's really our missing link. But I still think we might need to have like, how do we incentivize the maintenance of that education? That's the one thing that I've seen is usually like a one-time engagement of curriculum, and that erodes insecurity. So we've got to have an understanding there, I think, in writing.
Yeah,
But I will
think
write
that's
that in the GitHub.
all right. Yeah. Fuzzy.
Hey troops, sorry, oh sorry, my mic, is it working?
It's working, Fuzzy.
Right, fantastic. Yeah, no, I do apologize about my timekeeping, guys. It's just been a shocking mess today. I was just wanting to pick up on the back of Sal's point there about the continuance, maintenance, and upkeep of the material and the curriculum. The more we discuss SKF, like with Randall and I, it genuinely feels like it is a permanent position of many people to contain and maintain. It is one of those long-term endeavors that should not be seen lightly. And I just want to follow up on that case about what Sal was saying. I totally agree full-heartedly that in order not to erode the value of the project in the long term, fair enough, it might have a good short-term scope and direction and intentions, but it's all about longevity and endurance in this, in my opinion. And yeah, so it needs to be considered to be a long-term project in that scope. But thank you.
And we have the option that if we feel it belongs in this section, that we're going to create content and there needs to be some routine maintenance and upkeep of it, let us create positions for full-time people or some way to issue the micro grants or scholarships or whatever technique we want to make sure that that function continues going forward for that maintenance.
Yeah, indeed. I think that's very
And don't
good.
necessarily rely upon the kindness of volunteers forever.
Well, yeah, we're also hiring people who are language qualified and who can be doing like basically a DevRel function around a language, like any of the deficits that we have, reach out to open source or open source reaches out to you. That's so cool.
For the record, Fuzzy and Anthony are two people that I brought into the SKF project as developers. So
Very cool.
Very
Exciting.
awesome. Thanks for that. And glad to see you guys here. So really appreciate that. But yeah, indeed, that also triggered me actually, because we do want to have the platform always available, right? And yeah, now it's really actually it's really the operational patching, deploying. It's all me. Yeah, that's not very good because if I step under a bus, then we have an issue. Not that I'm planning to step under a bus, no, indeed, but yeah, that's not good. And also, I always want to have like professional excellence, right? And should always be up and running as far as I can manage it in my free time. But indeed, now, for example, we're also very well grateful for Microsoft that using their open source free credit funds, and every time I requested it again, I get it, and we're able to run in their Kubernetes stack the whole platform. But if I don't know, next month or whatever they decide, well, you don't qualify anymore or whatever reason, yeah, then we also have a bit of an issue, because then we don't actually have well, funds to keep the whole platform running. So now I was reading over our own goals and also a bit on the stream one, but I don't see any of those ask and key milestones like maintenance.
I wouldn't be afraid of that happening, Glenn. But yes, let us make that an explicit part of the plan is annual maintenance and upkeep of the system to guarantee.
Yes.
It. But yeah, I don't think Microsoft's going to pull away from their support of the foundation.
Yeah, no, indeed, but
But no,
Yeah.
let's make it explicit.
exactly, right? If we don't use it, well, that's fine, but if we do need in some situation, then at least we have it budgeted.
Yeah, and the other thing I think we need to make explicit is making sure, I think we have it, but like we have about 100K set aside for basically what I would call compute power or being able to create little virtual environments.
Mhm.
And I think we need to put like an actual estimate around how many of those services we could be providing in a year.
I can try to do that roughly off the newer system and off of the older system as well.
Cool.
Anthony and I have been messing around with the systems, so
Cool.
I could tell you like from an operational cost from SKF, like what it would cost. Like currently.
Cool. Yeah, and there is one thing that I did once with AWS where if you want, like, so you can do it through a corporation and still have their funding, you just go into like, say, hey, we're only going to go into like surge credits over these specific dates to run a hackathon, and they cover all your surge. So that's the kind of thing we might be able to do.
So let me ask this question to Krob and Saul and Glenn. So how do we also see the relationship with OSWAP? Because theoretically they're also involved. So it can't, like, I don't know if it could really be like a full like OpenSSF hub if it's also OSWAP's hub, if you get my question.
Yeah, because it's still also an OWASP project, or
OWASP is a member of the foundation.
Mm.
And we can figure that out. So we can approach the OWASP people and say this, we're interested in making this officially a joint project or joint funding. But OWASP they are members. I don't remember they might be like the middle tier. I don't know if they're premium, but I believe they're in the middle swath.
Wait, can we do a joint something with them in the diversity space? I think that would
Probably.
be cool. Because that's
I
one of their
think,
Need to
main.
reach out and ask.
Well,
yes,
I'm on the diversity thing for OWASP, so I feel like that could be easy.
And it's
will.
tangential, but one of the goals of the TAC, as we're trying to reposition our relationship with the governing board, is we want to expand and more formalize our relationship with other foundations.
Mhm.
So this potentially could be an opportunity to put in initiatives like that, saying we're very interested in diversity and equality. So we would like to have some collaboration together on this, and we're interested like shared projects like SKF. So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity with them, CNCF, and other groups.
Yeah, cool. I'll reach
yeah,
out.
and well, I hope everybody knows, of course, right? So the security knowledge framework is a flagship project already at OWASP for quite some time. We built SKF, like 7 years ago. Then we made it open source because we thought everybody should be able to have education and to be able to do security in the right way. Then we actually met one of the board members, Jim Manico. He introduced us to OWASP, and then we said, hey, we're going to partner with them because we're sharing the same mission and vision. And actually, that's also how we joined the OSSF and now OpenSSF, actually, right? Because we really aligned in what we're going to achieve. And the other disclaimer that I wanted to say. So I'm also currently one of the global board of directors at OWASP. So if you guys want, I can maybe also have a discussion already with the current board, right? How they see it and think about it, and how we could lead this into a more, practical collaboration. Yeah, because we know
Big plus one.
Yeah, because we know of each other, and the mission and vision is the same, right? Improve the AppSec industry. The only thing of OWASP is what is different is that we try to be vendor neutral, right? That's the statement. We want to be vendor neutral, which is in OpenSSF not. We also help vendors, right, in writing write-ups or blog posts or. So I think that's the only difference actually. But other than that, we have the same vision and helping and improving AppSec, right? So I don't see any issue there, but yeah, I will definitely bring it up as well there and get feedback and discuss it. Maybe I can do it in the global SIG meetup that we have, and then yeah, we'll report back, so to say. Let's see, how much time do we have left? We have 15 minutes. Maybe it's good. I know we have a couple of to-dos open. Probably the people who had the to-dos know they have to do it. Are there any updates that you want to share with the group?
I think it was the glossary, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah, I think we talked about that. True.
Yeah. So we do have a working glossary and we have a working web app. I talked to Glenn about it. We applied to Algoria so we could have like advanced search functionality. Because right now it's really, really basic. If you guys want, I can send a photo to the Slack channel.
You want to send me a photo of a query function? No.
No,
It's not like Anthony and I whipped this together in 24 hours or anything. So here, I'll send it to the Slack. There. That's what it looks like thus far.
Let me just share the screen real quick, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Because at least then people.
Cool.
I know that there's gonna be some cute drawing for the official logo, but
Oh, heck yes.
we just kind of threw that together.
I was just talking to Jennifer from the marketing group about logos today.
Wait, have you decided what it's going to look like? Is it going to have a hat? What's it going to be?
Not about this one, but about for the working groups and 2 SIGs.
Oh, okay.
They're creating a style manual and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, well, hell yeah, let's make a dictionary goose.
Yeah, not to pit cybersecurity against each other, but we did just talk a lot about OWASP, and I just want to say this. I have gotten them to invest in yo-yos, and I just think once we have logos for all these new things, there should be yo-yos.
Put line items in for swag. It'd be absolutely, especially your section, Sal. We need to have a swag budget and figure out.
I just want one
developers and
specific
cyber
for
people
yo-yos.
love swag.
For sure, indeed.
Anthony, did you want to add anything else to that? How it works? It's a Svelte app, if anyone's wondering.
Cool.
Yeah, so it was indeed the discussion of the super huge markdown file, yes or no, splitting it up into sections. We also thought of what would be nice that you have, for example, a button where you can automatically make a PR. For example, when you miss one of the your home things there. So they can do it from the website. They don't have to go to GitHub or whatever, just click, fill in, submit, and then we get a PR in the backend to review and then to add to it. So yeah, it looks very cool, guys. Very nicely, a good start, I would say. Yes. Anthony, yes.
Yeah, right now it's like an MVP, right? As you see, I mean, any feedback is welcome. And yeah, we are eventually thinking of adding what Glenn said, like a form. Some people can just direct it through the website, add a PR. But we're just figuring that out. And yeah, I don't know. Again, any feedback is welcome. So yeah.
just to be clear, we're going to be adding all definitions in here regardless, because there's going to be one thing we talked about was like there are multiple definitions for the same thing, and we don't want to like edit those or anything, so we're just going to throw them all on there. So if you put bug finder, you're going to get Red Hat's bug finder terminology, Intel's, Microsoft. You could decide which one you want to figure out. And I think that with Algoria, maybe there might be ways of like adding filters. Like if there's certain people you don't want to see, then maybe you could do that. I don't know. That might be a future functionality thing, but yeah.
Wait, how easy would it be to tag what you do have already with the professional personas that we identify? If we confirm those.
Not that difficult, I don't think. Anthony, do you think it'd be difficult?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it should be easy.
Yeah, start early rather than late if you're going to have to manually index the first part. Cool.
And our vision here is to take all of the markdowns, make them a YAML in a GitHub action, and upload it as a GitHub release. So, so yeah, things I learned at Gen 2.
Nice. So thanks for sharing that. It's really cool. Let me see. So what we now can do, actually, because we have now a sort of direction we can go to, is to actually already start filling in the and completing, I think, quite a lot of the items that we have, the milestones and the goals. Let me see. Well, I see already a couple have people assigned to it. Yeah, so let me go really quick over them. So the first one, goal, expand improving existing content and training material. So I think this is one that, for example, myself can pick up. Because we now have at least a goal and direction, and I know all the labs and the training and whatnot. I built those labs myself, so I have an idea how much time it would cost. So this is one definitely that I can pick up. Then we have the 2.2 member organization asked to contribute to existing internal. We have proposed people that we were going to contact, Intel, IBM, and Microsoft. And then I see governing board call for potential educational materials for security. That one was on your name. Do you have an update on that maybe, or no? Okay. Did we already?
GB got mired in other stuff.
Okay. Christine, yeah.
I just had a quick question. There's somewhere in the deadline for action in 2.1 talks about final education resource list for gap analysis defined. I also saw that in the section 1 earlier today, where they were talking about that as a deliverable. Is this different or overlapping? I know you weren't in that meeting, Glenn, but maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the sentence you're mentioning.
Probably, let me see.
The November 15th line, Christine?
Yeah, the November 15th line, it says final education resource list for gap analysis defined.
Okay.
You need to make that line a dependency on Rousseau's deliverable.
Yeah, check. Yeah, so I'm going to be a bit cheeky here and say that we already sort of, at least for year 1, defined it. Basically the ASVS based and the testing, so the 2 profiles, and hopefully there are more overlaps, so maybe we can sneak in another one because it has so many overlapping topics. But I think that should be the MVP at least, and everything, you know, that we can do more, that would be great. So yeah, so I will base my for this one, what I will do, I will base it upon, yeah, that frame basically then. But yeah, we will of course adapt it later on when stream 1 has a more in-depth details as well.
Maybe make a year 1 task to review the updated list and adjust plans for year 2.
Yeah, that sounds indeed very good. Yeah. Okay, let me see. Did we send out the OpenSSF email thread, Cell, to ask for collaboration?
No, I was not able to get them to send it out, but I can try again. Or we might want to try a different angle of attack.
Mhm. Okay, then Randall, did you were able to talk to Jennifer Bly?
No, I did not talk to her. I forgot what I needed to talk to her about.
Well, so it is basically, let me also share my screen. Maybe that's better actually. Sorry for that. Desktop 3. I think you see now the GitHub.
Yep.
Yeah. So this was in correlation to the members asked to contribute for
Yes,
existing.
I will reach out to her right now, actually.
And the idea was, I believe, that there was some marketing push from OpenSSF for asking, hey, does anybody know or has some good material laying that we can reuse?
Yes, I will. I'm on that.
Let me see. See, Rob, I think 2.3 was actually a bit in your corner, right? If I remember correctly, you wanted to.
Come
it was
again.
about
Well, part of it is,
because
and this
for
would be
example,
this, I guess we could either tack on to the existing matrix, which I probably would prefer, that we would want to note as we identify useful content, how do we want that displayed? And
yeah,
the default should be SKF and maybe a course, and then think about the alternative things like the hackathons and podcasts and whatever.
yeah, true. Yeah, and I see here also new labs, but actually we have a whole section for that. Yeah, so we can cut that out. All right. So for the 2.3, we will put that one a bit on hold then for now, till we have a bit more clarity from the stream 1, so we can fill it in. Develop in-person education-led training and training materials. Yeah. So that will be done based then on the carving that we, as an MVP, already can do. Yeah, so 2.5, well, that is, I guess, also one that is very easy for me to do. So I will write that one actually. Okay. And then 2.6, partnerships with undeserved communities. With traditional, partner with technical standards.
The 2.9 helps achieve the 2.6, 2.7, and 2.8. So I don't know how, if we want to reorder that or note the dependency. But basically, we had talked about hiring people to do those things so that we can make progress. Because I have no contacts with academia or like boot camp people, but hopefully somebody will.
So the only thing that I want to guarantee with this is that whatever format we do set up is compliant to the standard that I can't remember the acronym for universities at some point. Because we only need one template for that, and then we would be able to have a partnership with many certifiable entities.
That's not SCORM Connect, is it?
I think so, yeah.
Well, Storm Connects for the learning management system. That's like what the Wheeler content is currently in.
Okay.
I don't know if academia ingests that, but maybe that's why we need a subject matter expert and somebody to research it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Okay. So can I move 2.9 into its own main item and then add these 2.6, 2.7, 2.8 under 2.9? Is that okay?
It's open source. You can do anything you want.
Well, I mean, does it make
Yes,
more
no,
sense?
yeah, there's no mandate that the plan has to have the same numbering and structure. If you feel as the leader of this group that they belong under there, go for it. And maybe
Okay.
210 becomes a year 2 step to continue them.
I agree. And yeah, 210 indeed. Yeah, this is also a year 2.
So just to update, I did talk to Jennifer. I'm gonna get her, and I'm probably gonna need your help, Glenn, and maybe Saul. I'm gonna need just to kind of draft what we want to like send out, and then she can take it from there. That's what she told me. Like what we want to like make the call for, like what we want to say. So just for the
Yeah.
record.
Cool. Then we have this one. I know we made some nice progress there talking about Xavier from GitHub, for example, for the CodeQL approach.
Yeah, this is so exciting.
Now, my question is, do we want this as a year 1 goal or as a year 2 goal? Because
There's a GitHub issue in regards to that as well, just for the record. Well, there's a SKF or CodeQL and SKF issue open.
yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So the idea that we had already for a while in SKF, where you have the real hacking environment operating system. Now, currently we are using OWASP ZOP for the dynamic application security testing, but we also wanted to have a SaaS tool like CodeQL that looked and finds vulnerabilities from the static point of view. How we built the labs before, yeah, it wasn't really possible to do it, but now with this operating system that runs sort of in the browser, yeah, we can just install CodeQL as well on it, and then developers are also able to scan it, build rules. So next to that, we can even have a separate learning path now in a future thing, not for this MVP, but in the future, maybe for year 2, where we can even say, hey, we're going to build a learning path in using all the labs and in SKF for you how to use and build your own rules for CodeQL. And you can then test them on all the code snippets we have. Because guess what? A lot of the code snippets actually will not be flagged by CodeQL for vulnerabilities. So if we introduce new code snippets or new labs in different languages, then people also can even build new rules, right, for CodeQL that they can test, that they can contribute back. So also there I see a very positive, merit.
Yeah, I mean, we're at time, but I want to say this is probably the part of this entire segment of this entire plan that I like the most. It's the most actionable. It makes like what I want to think about the most when I do interface design, particularly for security, is like only give the information as close to the event in question as possible, because it has to be highly contextualized. I love that. And I don't know if it, I mean, well, let's look at it this way. Year 1 is actually 2024, right? This all starts in 2023. There seems to be inroads there. And if we confirm with them that this might be a year 1 goal for a beta, I think that would be a good goal.
I would stage it that way, saying that we will have a limited POC
Mhm.
We're going to commit to X, Y, and Z. And then for year 2 would actually be the execution. That's
Yeah,
fine.
all right.
Again, we don't want to commit to things we don't have resources for, we can't hire
Yeah.
or coerce.
But we have like static analysis. Y'all have sonotype on the call. We have so many. I mean, and there's so many. Just put them all together.
Yeah, but if we want to do this, I would suggest, because we've already committed to a lot in this particular section, and many of us are on multiple sections, so we're going to have contention for our bandwidth. Phase it in. We're going to commit to a small POC or whatever it might be, however you want to word that, and then it'll be expanded in year 2.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll inspire some of the sponsors to say, I love this idea. I'm going to give you guys $1 million and 20 engineers to make this happen now.
True, yeah.
And we'll say, yes, thank you.
Indeed. All right. From the goals that we can do, is there anybody who wants to help or contribute?
So I'm still going to put a call out to OSSF. I've got a couple of things I need to get them to move on, so I'll be in touch. And then I'll put another call into CNCF, but that's my full sort of active network. But I do have thoughts about the ways that we should be providing information to a large audience that I'd love to discuss, but I think that would be a sidebar conversation, definitely. Because I've got a lot of experience designing large courses, and we could do this in some really cool ways that would be able to let me know that literally without cognitive bias, we guarantee that we have someone who has exceptional skill. I would love to build that platform, or at least try.
And we also have access to the LF's education team. There's a lady named Cassidy that's an instructional designer that can help us with that as well.
Yeah.
I just haven't engaged with her yet because we don't have anything to work for her yet.
Yeah, because we can gamify it however we want. The curriculum can be whatever it is, but we could actually build a platform where I could verify that someone was a top contributor in several different ways. So yeah, that would be very cool. So
awesome.
I'll commit Glenn to help refine the 2.3 and below items to try to get a better proposal for us before the next call.
Perfect. That's great. Well, I will do the 2.5 and the 2.
Also on 2.2, Avishai did update us last time that he did ask Microsoft and he did not have any courses. So we can take him off there.
Yeah, that's true.
And my deadline says November 6th, so I don't have to report yet.
Yes, you're good. All right. Well, for the other people that are in the chat, please review it. You know who is actually taking on one of these actions and keys. So if you have one that's you know, still open and workable on it, please do some research on it and make a PR so we can merge it, and we're a step closer.
Yay!
Yay! All right. Any other questions before we're going to wrap it up? Or remarks?
progress.
All right, then I would say thank you very much for being here again and spending 6 more minutes than actually was intended. Very much appreciated, and see you all for the next one.
Wait, and like see you on Slack for the first 3 days of this week so we can get that spreadsheet sorted, please.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, see y'all there.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.